Kravitz. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Welcome to Saratoga Today for August 13th, 2023. I'm your host, Kyle Roscoe. And how about this, ladies and gentlemen? To my right, the official host of the HHH Racing Podcast, on the back end of it today, Howard Kravitz. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. It's sort of nice to be on the other side of the microphone, so to speak. Let you do all the clicking, all the work, and I'll just give out some picks for the fans there. Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well.
That's right. Yeah, he's going to leave me to do all the work while he gets to sit back, have a nice mimosa or something this morning, and that's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. But
the old red Solo cup, who knows what's in it?
Yeah, it could be water. It could be just straight vodka he's drinking this morning. Depends on the day he had yesterday, I guess, is what at Saratoga. But
okay.
Yeah. Yesterday, obviously, with the 4-star Dave, Casa Creed, one of my favorite racehorses in training, blew the doors off of that field. Although, as he continues to go to the Breeders' Cup, Howard and I were talking yesterday, I still think it would be very tough for him to win that race. But like I said, one of my favorite horses in training, and he's just what an absolute racehorse that you'd love to own. I mean, just going strong, 7 years old, still winning grade ones. So congratulations to all the connections with Casa Creed. But today's sequence is not to be left short, as this sequence, although it doesn't have any graded stakes, is a very, very nice late pick 5 sequence with one allowance, 2 optional claimings, a very nice main special weight, and of course the feature, the Mahoney Stakes, which is actually in race 10. It's the last race of the sequence, which Howard and I thought was a little bit odd, but that's also a fantastic race with lots of very good horses. Again, just really quickly while we go on, before we pull our picks up on the screen and go through the sequence, if you are not, or if you're brand new here, if you aren't subscribed, why not? You're already coming back anyway. Go down below, hit that big red button to subscribe and like this video. It helps us out a lot as it sends out this video into the YouTube algorithm, and we'll send it out to multiple new people for the podcast. So we greatly appreciate it. If you're more of an audio listener, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor, which is where we post not only every episode of Saratoga Today, but every episode of Betting and Booze on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, and the flagship show on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. Please go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor and rate, review, and subscribe. The normal power picks, very good. Only $16 a month, comes out to $4 a weekend. You get 2 tracks every weekend, full spot plays, full ABC grids, everything that you would need to make some money on the weekends. Again, patreon.com/HHH Racing Podcast for those, and the brand new Saratoga Power Picks, which are not so brand new anymore. They're in the middle basically of the Saratoga meet, but we come out with full grids, full spot plays, full caveman pick 5s, everything you need to make money at Saratoga this meet. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we send them out. For all those of you that are not subscribed to the regular Power Picks, it comes out to $20 a weekend, just over $6 a card for a full card of analysis. So HHHRacingPodcast.com, and on the top, Power Picks tip sheet is the tab you'll click on, and you'll see it there. But Howard, let's not let these people wait any longer. I'll go over a few comments here. We got Katie here, of course. Thanks so much for joining the show, Katie. Phil Conti is here in the morning. Thanks so much, Phil, for joining the show. And Katie says Kyle takes over the show again. Absolutely. I get one every weekend. That's usually how it goes. But and of course, we all know those are the best shows, or when I take over. But anyway, with
Sure, why not? By the way, I put it in the comment if you want to show Kyle. Scratches just came in.
Oh, beautiful. Wow.
And look who scratched in the last race. We just talked about this. Unbelievable.
That's
but anyway, I'll keep my pick, and I'm going to keep my pick anyway, but that does change things, perhaps.
Might as well. If that's the one horse that Howard and I were talking about, there's like, if this horse scratches in this whole sequence, it could throw it into array. And of course, the horse scratches. But anyway, guys, let's not waste any more of your time. Let's go into the first leg of the late pick 5, which comes to race 6. It is a main special weight, 83,000, going 6 furlongs on the dirt for 2-year-old fillies. And I bring up our picks right here, which I actually have to make tickers. I made new banners for this, so I need to switch it to ticker. There we go. And as I bring up the Equibase right now, let's see, and there we go. It draws a full field of 10 in this spot with 3 also eligibles, which all of them, I believe, have scratched, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah. So 11, 12, 13, all the also eligibles are out. The main body of the field stays in. The morning line favorite is a pretty cool 7-2 on the rail. Crazy Cami for Tyler Gaffleone and Mike Maker, who, Howard, you have on top.
Yeah, I didn't have a real strong opinion in this race. And just for all you handicappers out there, when you look at the conditions, you're wondering why isn't this purse 130 some thousand like a lot of the main races are. But everyone, you see the R, if you want to point to that R at the very top, Kyle, it's restricted. This is restricted for horses that were bought at the sales for 50,000 or less, which is pretty cool, I think, Kyle, because then these horses don't have to bump into like $500,000 and $600,000 monsters, but the purse is a little bit less. So it's a condition they wrote starting a few years ago, which I like. Crazy Cami, not my strongest opinion, but does have a nice bullet work. I think that was a B or B plus workout that should show this horse is sharp and breaking from the rail. And it actually was a solid B workout. There's not a ton of release speed, at least on paper, unless one of the firsters shows a lot of speed. I'm not a huge fan of the firsters really in general in this race. So I'm hoping Crazy Cam can break out of there with Tyler G, who's on a roll, by the way, lately, and just wire the field. But, it's not my strongest opinion.
I completely get it. I have this horse in second. I like the blinkers on change for Maker second time out after that last bullet work. But the one thing that I saw was in the Dam Beat Fruitful. She has 53 total races. She's 0 for 15 with runners on the dirt and 0 for 4 of those in sprints. So, but she is 0 for 3, but 2 for 3 in the money with 2-year-olds. So there's just one little thing. I was trying to discern between the 2 and the 1. And with the Dam being 0 for 15 on dirt, that was where I looked to the number 2, which is who comes out to be, or sorry, this is the morning line favorite. I messed that up. Originally, my apologies, but 5-2 morning line favorite for Wayne Catalano and Jose Lescano. I really want to see that first race that he ran at Ellis Park where he showed a little bit more, I got to drink again, but she showed a lot more tactical speed, was able to set off, but didn't necessarily get there, but was favored at 2.5 to 1. I'm hoping to see a lot more of that early tactical speed she showed. And out of the 2 hole, hopefully Lescano can get her close and get her rolling by at the top of the stretch. But Howard, you and I have 2 other horses that are completely away from each other. You have Lady Prospect in third for Luis Saez, Rudy Rodriguez. The works has been pretty good on this horse, and Run Happy is usually really good on the dirt.
Yeah, Rudy doesn't always do well first time out, but this is a fillet by Run Happy. I have a pretty fast Dam. I don't know if you want to click on the Dam there, and we can see the Dam was, won 100 and some thousand, was speedy and sprinty type, and she's been working really well. Also, again, we're privy to the clock reports that some people are not. I'm looking at right now on the other screen here, and I see some B- workouts, which for this level is decent. So if the 9 breaks, I think Lady Prospect is interesting. Again, I'm not a huge fan of the firsters in this race. Usually I like firsters at Saratoga, not as much here, but I think Lady Prospect is a bit interesting. I'm against the number 5, Chad, slightly. It's a Florida bred. It's been working okay. I don't know. I think it's because it's Chad. She's just gonna take money, Kyle. But I'm not sure it's gonna be warranted. We got to see the board. The board will tell.
And that's what's nice about having these these races first in the late pick 5 is you can check all the money on the board and see who's taking money, who's not. It really kind of strengthens your opinions. I did have Echo Lake in third. The works were okay, like you said. It's nothing, nothing like jumps out at you. Obviously, the horse was only sold for $40K to Chad, so it most likely isn't going to be an absolute monster. But working forwardly, Catalina Cruiser's usually pretty good. He is 2 for 14 with his 2-year-old first-time starters out of his first crop. So hopefully Irad can pilot this one more towards the clear is what I'm hoping, and Echo Lake can get a clear run. Maybe not good enough to win, as Howard and I are pointing out, but to be in the money. But you got to watch out for these Chads as they do just naturally take a lot of money. But the one point,
Kyle, can I make a quick? Can we go back to
course.
the one just for 5 seconds? I just wanted you brought up a good point about the breeding. Audible's not really a turf horse, and Michael Maker obviously is great on turf.
Yep.
My thought here, just to counter your point, although maybe the breeding doesn't suggest dirt or the horse, what is it? The dam hasn't won the dam's babies, but wouldn't Maker put this horse in a 5.5 furlong turf sprint if he really felt like the horse was turf meant? So the fact that he's keeping her on dirt gives me more confidence, albeit slight confidence.
I don't disagree with you by any means. I really like the change for blinkers on. I was going between the two of them, and I was just trying to discern little things between the 2 and the 1. But they definitely are both live, in my opinion, and both have
discern.
A very
what are you, Paula Halloran? Discern. Nice. Wow. Hold on, I gotta write that one down. Nice.
All right, I got my kudos from the teacher for today, so we're good. Now we're
nice
good. We're good for the rest of the show. Thanks.
I would challenge you to spell it, but we don't want to. Let's just move on.
Discern. I got you. Don't worry about that. I got
Carroll
you.
College, the Harvard of the Midwest. We all know it.
Absolutely, you know that. One comment I want to there's actually 2 comments I want to point out. Daryl pointed out the number 8 Day Away for Contessa and Castellano. This last work was really good, but it's going to take a very good run into this type of field. Like Howard and I said, the first timers aren't necessarily something that really jumped out at me by any means, but in any of these races, this is the race to take a shot, and the number 8 Day Away is definitely going to be higher on the board. Always look for the money. And Charles B pointed out the 6 Carrie's training very well. She's 3 for 6 in the money this year at Saratoga. She's for those of you that don't know Carrie Bryan, she also runs a lot of jumpers, which is where I know her from. She's very nice lady, and she trains her horses really well. The works were okay. They're training off of Saratoga, so we don't have a clocker report on this horse. But 3 Diamonds takes this one to Carrie, which obviously the connections are well meant. Kendrick picks up this horse who likes to be aggressive. 15 to 1, take a look at the money, but Elusive Fashion could also be interesting on the board. I'm going 2-1-5, and Howard is going 1-2-9. Howard, moving on to race number 7 of the second leg of this late pick 5, as my Equibase freaks out. It's an allowance optional claiming 62.50, going 7 furlongs on the dirt. And as I bring up, the morning line favorite is a pretty heavy one on the rail, 7-5 Vittorio for Irad and Bill Mott. As I switch over the picks right now, you are going with the number 1 on top, Vittorio.
I really didn't want to. I gotta be honest.
I second that.
He's 7-5 morning line, and he's been a bit of a money burner lately, Kyle, and he's such the moto horse here. Like, this is people are in a single limb, and he's got buyers in the 90s. I don't know. I would never single this horse. I know I've got him on top, so I suppose I should start speaking more positively of it.
Yeah. But Michael Lawson's with you. He said this was my single. So
I mean, I get it, Michael, but I don't know. He's burned a lot of money. He should set a nice trip. He didn't get the job done the last 2 by nose and a neck. Last time was 80 cents to the dollar. Dot's Dollar is a pretty nice horse, but nothing like spectacular. It's just this field, other than him, I have a lot of question marks. If there were some horses in here that I really, really liked, I'd bet against him. But I'll go with Vittorio. Again, it's not my strongest pick. I would never single this horse. No disrespect, Michael. I just don't trust him fully. And the rail can be, going 7, right? The rail can be a little bit tricky going 7. We'll see how it's playing, but I'll go with the obvious choice on top. Not my favorite pick of the day, though.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. And if I like that this horse doesn't necessarily need the lead from the rail out of that chute, because you see a lot of trouble when they come out of that 7 furlong chute at Saratoga, where they get pinched on the rail as they're trying to come up or something like that. Vittorio, like you said, is the obvious horse in this race with 5, 90 to 100 buyers in a row. If you're a figures player, this is almost, the moto obvious single, as you said. And if he can stalk, he definitely sits a good trip. I went with the number 2, Guntown, in first, coming off that last race at Saratoga. I know it's a quick turnaround, but Linda Rice likes to have these quick turnarounds, especially when she thinks the horse is ready to go. Close into a slow pace. I mean, going 25. I know it's Saratoga, so it's a 2-turn mile, but going 25-3 to the quarter at Saratoga in an optional claiming race is something you really don't see every day. And this horse still closed into Bold Endeavor, who's not a bad horse in his own right. It's just a matter of, I like the cutback. I don't know if the cutback necessarily is going to be a very strong suit for this horse. I think he might want to go a little bit longer, but if he's able to have a kick into a cold pace last time and Linda cuts him back a little bit, I hope he sits a nice trip on the inside, maybe about in the 5th or 6th position, tips out towards the top of the stretch and can run down. There's a decent amount of speed in this race, Howard. I don't know if that's the way you saw it, but I saw there's a little bit of speed, but not overly speedy by any means.
I thought there was quite a bit of speed. A few quick comments. Guntown is a horse we saw in person. That was over at one of the races we were at when there was a huge favorite for Chad Brown. I got to get the name of the horse now.
Got you right now.
Pipeline, who just did absolutely no running whatsoever. It was a horse I actually was against, if you recall, that day, and we beat him with a big price. But Guntown sort of sucked up along the inside. I'll let people watch for themselves. We don't have to watch the replay, Kyle. It wasn't like a late kick. It was just more like clunk up kind of thing.
Grindy,
And I think 7 furlongs might be a little too sharp for him. I have concerns about Guntown. But yeah, listen, I guess it's up to every handicapper, right? I don't know. He just sucked up into a race where the big favorite didn't fire and didn't show me much. But I think there is quite a bit of speed in here. I don't know if 7 is what this horse wants, though. I mean,
I completely agree with you. That was my concern. It's just a matter of, I think with a little bit more pace into this race, I think he sits a little bit closer trip and maybe can go by top of the stretch. That was my angle, but your point is definitely taken, as that was my concern with Guntown. But you have the number 4 in second, St. Tappet, who was a very nice, very well-meant horse for Pletcher last year and just never really came up with the big number that he was hoping for.
Yeah, I think this horse is fascinating. The works are really slow, and that's a small concern. But when you go back and look at last year, I mean, maybe he just wants to be sprinting.
Yeah.
I mean, the breeding doesn't necessarily say so. By the way, Tappet out of Havre de Grace. I mean, wow. I mean, the breeding is unbelievable. The Havre de Grace was a great 2-turn horse. But, I mean, his first 2 starts, Kyle, last year were sprinting and were great. And then, they got, some 2-turn fever, which is completely understandable. And he just didn't fire. I'm throwing out the mud. This horse doesn't want mud. If he's ready, I see no reason why this horse can't win. I think he's fascinating. I don't know what we're going to get from him, but he's talented. There's no doubt about that.
No, absolutely. I mean, just breeding alone in those last 2 races, or his first 2 races, last 2 races on the page, definitely fit in a spot like this. And if he can just hit a nice trip from from a little bit more of the outside gates, just sitting off the lead, there's no reason why this horse can't be as good as he was last year. Like you said, the last race in the mud, even though it was going 7, you see both races in the mud were just really not. He almost stopped running, basically. I mean, 27.5, 45 is definitely not the talent of this horse being left in the dust like that. So there's a lot of things that are pointing up about St. Tappet. And I'll be honest, I didn't really give St. Tappet too much of a look. So if he does run by, that'll be completely on my miss, but to Howard's and everyone else's that plays them their liking. I went with Looms Boldly, obviously for the namesake of In the Money Media's Pete Fornatel. My sole thing on this was he's gone very fast up front. This is definitely a step up from where he's been running, but if he can clear, because he has the most early foot in this race, even though there is a lot of speed. If he clears, doesn't necessarily have to win, but if he's able to hold on for a piece, I think Looms Boldly could be interesting on a little bit of an improve. But like I said, he will need to improve on those figures. But couldn't leave Looms Boldly out of the top 3. Had to give our good friend Pete Fornatel some
and Marshall Graham too. 10
that
strike.
Is true. 10 strike.
Graham. So this is a really tough spot for. I like this horse a lot. This is a really tough spot. If this horse is in the money, I'd be very impressed. To be honest, that's just my opinion.
No, look, like I said, he definitely needs to improve just based on figures wise to compete with horses like Vittorio. But
good luck to them, though. Good luck to
absolutely.
Those
Absolutely. But I'm going 2-1-5. Howard's going 1-4-2 in the 7th race. Switching over to the 8th race here. There's an allowance race going 1 1/8 on the dirt. A very nice N1X as I switch over the Equibase right now. Draws a field of 8. And the morning line favorite is the number 7, Magic Tap for Gaffleone and Asmussen. And the second choice is the horse that I'm most interested in, Dreamlike for Irad and Pletcher, as I bring on the PPs. Howard going 3 for 3 with the favorites early on here, going with Magic Tap.
Pretty unlike me, to be honest. This is a really nice N1X. This is a real nice race. Excuse me. You know what I was thinking very selfishly is Certified Lover Boy, who's a horse that I have a small ownership one, who just won at Saratoga. Like, this is the kind of race he'd have to be in if he was going to be in N1X. It's like, man, the waters get deep at Saratoga. This is a serious race. I've always liked Magic Tap. I think he's really good. Lost to Tap's Conquest last time when he was on the rail the whole time, which at Ellis is fine, but he was getting pressed. I like the fact that he can sit outside of horses today, Kyle, in theory.
Yeah.
The 5's got speed. The 3's got speed. I don't think the 7 has to have the lead. We don't really know yet, but I'm just speculating based on the breeding and the connections. I just think he's going to have a real nice trip. I wouldn't take him at a low price. I respect it, Dreamlike. It just feels like this is a tougher spot for Dreamlike. I know he was staked, and you'll talk about him in a minute. But I'm feeling this race is better than some of the 3-year-old stake races he's been in, to be very honest. I mean, isn't this race better than the Wood? To me, it is, in terms of just pure talent. So Dreamlight can absolutely win. I know Patrick Kunzel's very high on that horse in his Saratoga Power Picks, and rightly so. And you've got him on top. I've got him second. But I sort of like Magic Tap today. Just hope he's not going to be wide and too fast to pace.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's extremely talented, just improving every single start. The works are really nice, and losing to horses. I mean, you can throw out the maiden race, but Saudi Crown was in that race, is just another horse that, that rings a bell to my head. But he's a very talented horse. I love that he has an outside draw this time, as you pointed out. And hopefully he can just sit a nice pressing, stalking trip and go by. Because I also agree with you. I'm not sure that he necessarily needs the lead, which is also why I like Dreamlike in this spot. Even though he does have the ability to have a lot of speed early, I don't think he needs the lead by any means. If Irad can just put him in that sort of pocket-like trip, I think Dreamlike is extremely interesting in this spot. And, I mean, you can kind of say, oh, he regressed into that main special weight from the Wood. The Wood, even though it was a very weak race in our opinion, it's always going to be a higher number. At least when you see these Derby preps and stuff like that, the buyers are usually higher just because the times are really good. And he drops down. He was wrapped up in that maiden special weight. I mean, he won by almost going away 7 wrapped up. So it wasn't necessarily, and also a horse he beat by 6 3/4, Moore's Law, came back in a main race. I think it was earlier this week. Was it Friday or Thursday? Something like that.
It was a slow number, though, if you want to look it up. I think it was like a 78. So, but yes, Moore's Law did come back and win, but it was a weak
79.
Field.
Yep. 79. But he came back at 1 to 5 or something like that. So Dreamlike is definitely a very interesting horse in this spot. I just like that he doesn't need the lead in a race where a lot of the speed's going to be coming from his outside. So if he can just drop back into that pocket trip, I'm sure Irad will pilot him to a great trip in a spot like this. But you have the number 5 Film Star for Rice and Ortiz in second. Again, another horse with figures that fit, and another one that could, want the lead early.
Yeah, I'm not sure the trip situation with this horse, and he's a 4-year-old, maybe slightly less upside than others, but he's definitely a threat. I mean, it's going to depend on the break and the trip. And I looked at your 8 also. I'm not sure the 8 wants a mile and an eighth, by the way.
Yep.
I'm sure you'll touch on this really talented New York bred for, again, our good friend Marshall Graham and 10 Strike. I don't think necessarily the 8 wants his distance, and it's a tough spot. But yeah, I think this race is pretty wide open. I was hard pressed to find, a possible single here in a horizontal bet.
Well, right, and this is the field where you're going to get a lot of value any way you go with a 5-2 morning line. Most likely, you'll probably get that with all the strong competition in this field. Film Star is definitely interesting figures wise. My concern, you touched on it already, was what trip was this horse going to kind of work out from kind of a middle of the pack where a lot of the speed's coming from the outside. Wants to be forwardly, plays Dreamlike to his inside, is going to want to sit and get that pocket trip most likely. So the 5 was kind of in that, the no man's land type of thing where it's going to be Jose's discretion to where he wants to go with this horse. And I was leaning more towards the kind of send angle with the number 5, but I went with Whittington Park in third. Howard touched on for our very good friend and Marshall Graham and 10 Strike Racing. I just like that if this is the race that's going to fall apart, or if they go really too fast early, he can kind of not necessarily clunk up, but run up for a nice third or second somewhere in the money. This the last race he ran at 1 1/8 was a state bred optional claiming race where he actually got up with Carmouche up at 4 to 5. So the horse is I still think that it was a slow figure is another thing I want to point out, which could be to his not to his liking. But I like the fact that if this is the race that can fall apart, I was looking for horses that maybe had that late closing kick, and Whittington Park was that horse for me. But again, good luck to our good friend in Marshall Graham and all the guys with 10 Strike Racing. I'm going 3, 7, 8. Howard's going 7, 3, 5 in this spot. Howard switching over to the 9th race is another nice optional claiming race, N2X, going 7 furlongs on the dirt. And as I switch over, field of 8, the morning line favorite is again on the inside, the number 1 HP Moon. And does Howard make it a crisp 4 for 4? Of course he does. The number 1 HP Moon. I don't know. I'm going to enjoy this one though. The number 1 HP Moon, Rice and Jose Ortiz.
There are a lot of soft favorites. Oh, you got the 6 also second.
Yep.
This horse I have a strong opinion on, Kyle. I really like HP Moon today. When you scroll down the field, you don't have to do that. But when people look at the field, there aren't a lot of horses to me that had big upside. And I think HP Moon by far has the most upside. I understand he's a bit slower right now by the numbers, but this 4-year-old by Malibu Moon out of a Stored Humor mare, trained by Linda and Jose Ortiz. I mean, there's a lot of things to like. I think this horse is definitely improving. The workouts are fantastic, by the way, for those of you that are not privy to the workout reports. I'm just going to scroll down. I see the last 3 works were B+ workouts, which are borderline stakes level workouts, and people might say, well, it's just in the morning. The horse is touting himself. I think he's going to run a big race if he gets the right trip. There's enough speed in here. There's some others I don't like. If I were to single in the pick 5, I actually might single at this one. Also, he's a soft morning line, which would give you some more equity in a horizontal bet. I like HP Moon quite a bit today.
You took the words right out of my mouth, my friend. The workout report is extremely. Yep, sorry. See you guys, but no, the workout report is extremely strong. Second off the trainer switch for Linda. Got off that trainer switch. Got the best buyer that he's ever had in his life. Looks to take another step forward here. As Howard pointed out, this horse has a lot of upside. Very lightly raced 4-year-old. I think HP Moon is extremely interesting in this spot. And we have the same exact horse in second, which is Shooter Shoot, who 7-2 morning line for Joe Sharp, third off the trainer switch, has run 2 really nice races behind some very nice horses.
Yeah, he's got blinkers off. My general opinion is when there's optional claiming races, Kyle, I don't like horses that are in for the tag. Now, there's 2 reasons why a horse could be in for the tag. One is they've gone through their condition and they've won too many races, so they can't be in. They have to be in for the tag, which is the case here. And sometimes the connections just want to put them up for 62.5. It's not a huge negative, but that's sort of why I prefer HP Moon, who I don't believe is in for the tag.
No,
and more lightly raced. So just something for people to think about. I don't have the stats on it, but I would almost guarantee that the majority of those kind of races are won by horses that are not in for the tag. I should do a little research on that. Shooter Shoot is very obvious. Blinkers off, working well, outside post, blah, blah, blah. Very good contender here.
I agree. And the workouts were also very good on Shooter Shoot. And I think his last work was also a B+ work. So Joe Sharp has him, for lack of a better term, has him sharp and ready for this. See, I got my one teacher joke in for the day. But he looks to be very sharp and ready to go with those blinkers off. Chris Couples, morning. He said Dreamlike over Magic Tap in the last race, and he said might have been the slop, but I thought HP Moon was awful in the last race, which is again, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but the last race where he didn't get up necessarily in the final strides over Secret Rules, he broke, but from my opinion, watching that race, he broke slow, kind of was on the inside and didn't have anywhere really to go and wasn't able to get up in the final strides. I don't think this horse necessarily wants to be in the slot by any means, but ran his biggest number. And I just think with the workout reports and sitting a good trip, that's where I landed with HP Moon. Howard, I don't know how you felt.
Yeah, I
about
have
it
to be honest. I'm watching it right now on the other screen. Didn't break great, which could be a problem, obviously, from the
Right.
rail, and then came up the inside, like you said, and got a very good trip, and actually took the lead in mid stretch, and then didn't hang on, which I understand what he's saying. This is the first
Yep.
time I honestly didn't have a chance to watch the replay. I suppose you could say he should have won last time, but I don't know how the rail was playing on that day. But Secret Rules, a horse, I know Patrick Kunzel likes that horse a lot today, and he's pretty good, right? So I mean, there's no Secret Rules in this race.
Yep.
I don't think Shoot as good as Secret Rules. I understand what he's saying now that I watched the replay.
He said he thought the rail was just.
I'm a little cooler on him, Chris. I appreciate your comment, but I think he's still has a great chance today.
Like I said, after that last race, he's been working extremely forwardly for Linda. I just think that if Linda's going to have him ready for a spot, this is the spot for HP Moon. But he thought the rail was just wide open and could have drove a semi through there.
Yeah, it was.
A lot of the times at the Naira tracks, at least from my Howard, you could feel free to completely discern my comment, but usually at these Naira tracks, the rail when it comes down really hard, the it doesn't like to necessarily pool on the rail, but the rail is not usually the place you want to be when it rains pretty heavy at these Naira tracks, at least in my experience.
Yeah, I'm going to take a guess and think that Ortiz is going to try to get this horse off the rail at some point in the race if he can. But, watching the replay, I was not as impressed as it looks on paper. I will say that. But I still like the upside in the works and whatnot. So
yeah, and he says, but he goes, of course it's Linda Jose, so he may just run off the screen anyway. But
yeah, but they've cooled a little bit, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, yes, they have. I mean, she started out. She's now gotten passed actually for the trainer title. She's gotten passed by Chad. Yeah. So,
well, you knew that was going to happen eventually. I mean, come on.
Well,
as long as races were on the turf, as long as they were starting to run turf races, that's going to happen eventually.
I get it. Anyway. It is a very tough race, Chris. But thanks so much for the discussion comments. We really appreciate you joining the show. But you have the number 7. He's my honey badger in 3rd. I was going but set between the 7 and the 8 for 3rd place ranking. Just, last race, you can he was caught up in a very hot pace. I mean, he had to go really wide. You can make excuses. The last 2 races before that definitely fit with the 94 figure.
I'm slightly worried about the distance, but I remember watching this race at Keeneland. I think I might have been there actually in October of 21, October 23rd. I actually might have been there that day. But anyway, against Pipeline, by the way, there's the Pipeline again. This horse is pretty talented. If you toss out that last, he fits. Can he get the 7 is the main question. He's a little sneaky, and I do not underestimate Mr. Amos because he can win when you least expect it. He's really good. And if this horse breaks well and gets the right trip, I don't think he's impossible at all here.
No, and as we stated, there is a decent amount of speed in this race, but I like that he draws the outside. And he's able to kind of, like we keep saying, stay in that kind of pressing stalking trip on the outside in the clear that seems to work so many times at Saratoga, especially this year. I went the number 8, Candy Tycoon, for David Jacobson and IRAD. The only thing I don't like is he's going to take a little bit more money, and he has back numbers that fit a lot, but as of recently, they've been trying like almost everything with this horse. They threw him on the turf at Gulfstream. They put him on the dirt at Gulfstream. And I know you're against horses that run at Gulfstream in the summer. They're less prestigious meet, as we all know. But I just think from the outside, he sits that clear stock trip from 4th, 5th, and hopefully can get a good run. I don't necessarily know if he's good enough to win, but Candy Tycoon I thought was extremely interesting just based on trip wise. I don't know if
it's David Jacobson with a new horse. That's all I'm going to say. So see Rick Dutro in the dictionary for that angle. So I don't love him, but it wouldn't shock me. No, this is a pretty tough race. It's
a very good race too. Just on the sole fact, a very nice optional claiming race. I went 168. Howard's went 167. And guys, for the last extravaganza, I did my picks. I did not see Howard's picks when we did our picks. He sent them to me, and I put them up on the screen. And what do you know? We both have the exact same picks in the last race. This is a very nice race. It is the Mahoney Stakes, going 5.5 furlongs on the turf course. The morning line favorite is the number 4, I believe, right? It's uncashed for Ravelli and Irad. This is just a very nice field, a full field of 10 with uncashed and Drew's Gold, both of the morning line favorites. There's some question marks just based on surface change alone, which I know we talked about.
Yeah, this is a fascinating race. And for all my Mahomies out there in the Mahoney, do I have homies? Do you have homies? You're young. I don't have any homies at all. Look, uncashed is really fast. Ravelli has said he's not 100% sure this horse wants turf. And he said if this horse doesn't run on turf, he'd obviously never run him back on there again. It wasn't exactly a glowing endorsement, but he's so damn fast. And there's not a lot of speed inside of him. He's going to have the lead if he breaks. The 8 was a big scratch, I thought, or we thought, from a pace angle. I don't think the 8 would have had any chance to win at all. But that 8 was very fast. And now you figure the 4 and the 10 Drew's Gold. This really helps Drew's Gold a lot, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They don't have to be in the 3 or 4 path. I'm still going None Hudson. Love Bobblehead, who's coming in for 1 mount.
Yeah,
it's this one.
True.
Last time, we can't show the replay, he blew by the 2 that's in this race and did it really well, and was also 3 wide on the turn. This is one of those rare Resley wards that actually can rate and finish. I understand yesterday Love Reigns was absolutely awful.
Yeah.
But I think this horse is in a different situation. He's been running. Actually, he hasn't run since May, but I just have a feeling that was an aberration yesterday with that Ward horse. I think None Hudson's here for real. He can show some speed, Kyle. And I think now he might show a little more speed because of the scratch of the 8. I hope James Graham puts in a good position. He's on the uptick, and he had that last work was serious by the clockers, like B++ workout. I'm going to go with a little bit of an upset, but the 4 and 10 are very formidable here.
I mean, look, I'm exactly with you. That last race is extremely good at Churchill. Shipping over to Saratoga, Ward has basically, at least in my eyes, he's basically picked out this spot for None Hudson. I think he's extremely interesting in it. And if James Graham can sit that type of middle trip, even though there is less speed out with the 8, there's still other horses that want to show speed, including both of the morning line favorites. I thought the 9 wasn't slow by any means either. The 7 probably has to go, but the 9, if they want any chance in this race, I think Son of a Birch, which great name by the way, but he just has to go. So, but with the 2 of them, the 2 of the dirt meant horses battling it out on top, I think it could set up perfectly for None Hudson, who, as you touched on with that last workout for Ward, I mean, that was like a very serious work. And the words they used on the Clocker report, I think, were galloped out with spark, I believe is the exact words that they used. So I'm very interested in None Hudson on top. But again, as Howard touched on, with the 4 and cashed, it's just so quick. Doesn't matter what surface he's going to be on. But if he takes at all to the turf, the 4 could be very formidable. And Drew's Gold, who obviously was second in the Woody Stevens to Arabian Lion, and then was favored in the Amsterdam behind the Patrick's best opinion, New York Thunder in that race. I mean, this horse is so well meant, and now James Chapman takes him to the turf, which I thought was an extremely interesting move. But on the outside,
you want to show the dam's run on turf. You want to show that for people at home,
of course,
because and you can look at the siblings. There are some. No. If you go to the top and click on siblings, there are. If you just scroll down, American Frolic. I mean, there's some horse that looking to get even. And there's some horses here that run on turf. I'm not sure I love the quick turnaround. Maybe I'm just being picky here. But, I mean, he's lost to American Lion and a complete wildebeest last time in New York Thunder. So, and again, he might get a really nice trip now with the 8 out of there. There's a little bit less speed. I don't know. This is the horse I could be more wrong about than any race or any horse today. But he's going to have to, he's going to have to track a really talented 4 horse and go by and maybe some other speed. So it's not an ideal situation. Should be fascinating.
Yeah.
They're going to go fast early. This is going to be, if it's a firm turf, or if it doesn't rain, we're talking 21-3, like 44-2 kind of situation, aren't we, Kyle? Here.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Especially with anywhere everyone's going to be trying to chase uncashed would be my complete guess in this field. And obviously, with the horses to inside, I think if Drew's goal was a little bit further in on the post position, I think I'd like him a little more. Maybe kind of like that 6th hole. But if he's just as fast as horses to his inside, so he should be able to clear and just get right up to uncashed, and it should be a great slugfest coming down the stretch. Hopefully, with Nene Hudson coming over the top to win the last race. But guys, Howard, thanks so much for joining me. I know, like I said, Patrick did the Saratoga Power Picks today, so if you have those, look out for those. They should be coming your way if they're not already to your inbox already. But Howard, thanks so much for filling in, man. I know you like being on the other side of the microphone every now and then because it gives you a little bit more time to kind of talk about your opinions and without clicking so many buttons. But to everyone in the chat, thanks so much for joining the show. We had a great audience the whole time. Howard, you have the final word for anything throughout the day, or whatever you got.
A few quick things, just nice and relaxed on this side of the microphone. Hope some people catch yesterday. We had some nice scores in the Saratoga Power Picks with a Clement firster that I have a feeling they think is their Derby horse. I think the horse that won yesterday for Clement is serious in race 5. Didn't even break well and still won. So that's an interesting horse. And then today at Del Mar, mandatory 20-cent pick 6 jackpot payout. I know people have different opinions on jackpot pick 6s, but it is a mandatory payout at Del Mar today. And I've been looking through those last 6 races before we came on air, and there's some good races there. So I might want to check that out. But Norman. I don't think we've seen that name.
Nope.
What's up, Norman? How you doing, Norman? How many likes do we have? You can see it. I can't. I don't have
20 likes. We should have more than that. 20? That's for damn sure. We got 92 people watching.
20.
What are we doing?
Come on, people. Like. How many times can you hit the like button? I think
that's right.
Once, right?
Yeah,
I think you only hit once, but call your friends. Hey, click the like button for Howard and Kyle. Come on now.
But yeah, I agree. Thanks. And thanks, like I said in the chat, you guys have been amazing, as you guys are every day. But with the full viewership that we've been getting, it's only been growing. So we greatly appreciate all you guys watching. But good luck today.
Hey, Kyle, any advice for my students? Tomorrow's my first day with the students. Tomorrow I teach high school math. Those
that is right.
Any advice? Kyle, you have any advice for my students?
Go to class. Because that's
a pretty low bar.
I know. To be fair, I was a very good high school student. I was my first 2 years of college. They were iffy, but my high school years, how long? It's been so long, man. I got nothing. But let's see. Okay. Best advice I could give.
I was planning on showing this to my students.
You were
tomorrow.
Oh,
so I'll shut up now and let you go.
All right. Let's see. So do all your homework, because if you do your homework, you get immediate passing grade. I don't know if Howard's class is like that, but you usually get an immediate passing grade if you do your homework. Study hard, kids, because trust me, in college, you're going to need it. So do your homework, study hard for those tests, and the finals and all the big tests should come pretty easy to you. So that's the best advice I can give, because granted, I've been out of high school now. I can't believe it's been 7 years I've been out of high school. That's honestly, I just thought of that. That's an insane comment for myself. But Howard, again, thanks so much for joining the show. In the chat, thanks so much. You guys have been awesome. For my co-host, Howard Kravitz, it's been your host, Kyle Roscoe, and good luck today at Saratoga, and crush your bets. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.